Second. Okay, we should be live now. This is the Grey Man back again. Today I'm chatting to Jeff from Troyen. How you doing, mate?
How are y'all?
Right.
All good at this end.
Cool. I think we've got a bit of internet connection problem today, a little bit of lag every now and again, but when we're soldier on, hope everything will go well. First question I would like to ask is what's in a name? I remember you started off as Trojan, didn't you? What happened? How come it became Troyen? And could we actually get the history of the band as well while we're at it?
Yeah, absolutely. We started off as Troyen at the back end of 1980. Very early on during 1981, we were approached and told that there was another band by the name of Troyen, and we needed to change our name pretty quickly. So we met round Steve Maguire's dad's dining table to discuss the crisis. And it just so happened that Steve's dad was into opera, and he had an album on his hi-fi. He had an album on his hi-fi called Les Troyens. So Steve's dad said, "Why don't you call yourself Troyen?" Which is French for Trojan. So that's what we did, and it was as bizarre as quick as that. So from the beginning of '81 until now, that's who we've been.
But how did you actually start as the band? How did you get together? Who first came up with the idea and started searching for people to be Troyen?
Right, Steve Maguire and I played in bands at school in the late '70s or so, but we drifted apart because Steve had been to university, etc. I worked in the pub, and one of the regulars in the pub happened to be a bass player, so we started chatting. And we started messing around in bands, not doing anything seriously, but rehearsing and doing stuff. Then I heard that Steve was in the band, playing locally. So Dave, the bass player, my bass player, and I went down to watch Steve in his band. There was another guy there playing guitar called Nick, who we knew. The band were okay. They weren't, if I'm being honest, they weren't brilliant, but they were okay. And driving home, I said to Dave, you and I are better than their bass player and drummer. He said, "Yeah, I know, you're not wrong." So there was no internet in those days. There was so I had to walk down and knock on Steve's door and say, "We came to see you the other night. I don't know if you saw it in the audience, but me and Dave are better than the two guys you've got on bass and drums." He said, "Oh, right, okay." Right. So he went away. Spoke to Nick, the guitarist. He phoned me back and said, "Okay, we've got a band." And that was basically how we were formed, if you like.
Yeah. So did you start with a new name as well when you joined them, or were they already called? Right.
No. So we started with a new name, new concept, new name, new everything.
Right. And what was the influences for your style that would you join up? Obviously, new wave. It wasn't called new wave British heavy metal at the time, was it? I suppose it might have. I don't know.
We were just a rock band. That's all we were. Our influences were Led Zeppelin. Steve and Nick were very blues based. I was into Zeppelin, Judas Priest. Dave was 10 years older than us, so his musical influences reflected that. And he was into the bands from the early '70s. So we just started playing what felt right for us. Really, there was no kind of trying to fit into a category or a niche or a genre or whatever it was. And we got put into the new wave of British heavy metal band envelope, if you like. It's not something we wanted to, we strove to be in. We were just put in there, and and it stuck, really.
Right. And when you got together, what was the scene like back then? Did you get to do a lot of gigs at that point?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was gigs were not exactly 10 a penny, but we did 130 gigs or 130 plus gigs in just over 2 years. So you can imagine how often we were out. We were out a lot, and it was and that was over most of the UK, not all the UK, but most of the UK. Anywhere we could get to from the northwest within 3 or 4 hours, we were gigging to. And the beauty of gigging in those days is when you were coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning at the motorway services, there was half a dozen other bands in there as well, because they were travelling home from wherever they'd been from. So we'd chat and we'd exchange information. We'd exchange information about venues, about promoters, about stuff like that. And that's how we got that. that's how we got around, by word of mouth. All the gigs were booked by telephone.
Yeah.
Basically, I used to look in the New Musical Express and Sounds at where other bands were playing. Phone directory inquiries, get the phone number for the venue and phone the venue up. It was as daft as that in those days.
Yeah, it was all DIY. There was no you didn't have any
Absolutely.
management or anything like that.
No. In fact, we had a fictitious manager by the name of Jeff Baddley, which was basically me, but acting on behalf of the band.
Right. And did you do that because you thought that was going to be a good idea? Did you you thought it sounded professional to have a manager?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then we were looking to get support tour with Nightwing in Europe in May and June of 82, which was fantastic. Right. That was a big help for us. That got us a lot of exposure.
Yeah. So where did you go on that tour?
All over Europe, Germany, France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Holland.
Wow.
I think we had 32 nights in 5 weeks. I think we had something like that.
That's pretty bloody extensive. Yeah, blimey. What was it like? Did you have to pay for it all yourself, or did you get enough money to cover your petrol and all that? Did you go on a big coach together, both bands, or? I think he's frozen.
No, we got what?
You're breaking up, mate. You're breaking up. Getting lots of dead air.
Each band travelled independently. We had a Bedford CF van, which was our used to travel around in. Are we?
You still there?
I'm still here, yeah.
Okay, you keep spraying. I can't work out if you're talking or not.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It keeps freezing. Looks like it keeps freezing. I got a bit about you was in your own van.
Right, we're in our own van, and we would travel from venue to venue independently. But
yeah,
the way we made it pay was we worked as part of the road crew for Nightwing.
Right.
So we would set up we would do our set. Nightwing would do their set. We'd help to strip the stage down again.
Right.
So that helped to pay for us.
Cool.
Are we still there?
Yeah. You see, you keep sort of stopping every now and again. It's a bit awkward. Any good memories of that tour? Like any good gigs? Any sort of crazy nights on that one?
Absolutely. Some mental nights. We had a night backstage at the Shoot Off Festival with Frank Zappa, which was quite good.
Right.
We had a night where I slept. We had a night where I slept in a dog basket at a venue. We had a night where what we used to do was there was two of us who drove. So one driver slept in the hotel, one driver slept in the van, and we used to alternate it. And it was my night to sleep in the van, and I'd driven the van up what I thought was this quiet lane. It turned out to be the entrance to the British Embassy in Bonn, in Germany, and I was woken up with a machine gun in the back. I was woken up with a machine gun in the back of my head, with a guy asking for what was I doing and where was my passport.
Oh dear!
Well,
they thought you were a terrorist or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good times, though. What was good times?
Yeah, what was the scene like in England at that point? And did you go to Scotland as well? I suppose you must have gone to gigs in Scotland.
Scotland is the only place we've never played.
Okay.
We're working on it for next year, but we've never played there yet.
Okay, because you're up north, aren't you? I thought you would have played Scotland.
we are equidistant between Liverpool and Manchester,
Right.
right in between the
So
two. But no, we went up to Carlisle and we went over to Newcastle and places like that, but we never actually went over the border.
right, cool. Because there are quite a few new wave British heavy metal bands there. But what sort of bands did you play with back in the day? Did you have any bands that you played with a lot, or?
Oh, not so much a lot. We played with Spider. We played with Rab Stallion. We were supported Girls' School. Various, but there was nobody we played with a lot. We just used to play with whoever was available. If the promoter put us on with somebody else, then we were playing with them that night.
Yeah, but a lot more venues as well back in the day, weren't there?
Oh, an awful lot more. Yeah, I mean, near enough every town had at least one venue.
Yeah, and now like live music's pretty much on the wane.
It's bad, and because of the pandemic, we've no idea how many venues are going to be left at the end of this.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows?
What about press and that in them days? Did you get much attention from the press?
No, well, we got a little bit. I mean, Jeff Baddley, although we never appeared in Sounds, he commented on in some journal or whatever that one of our tracks was a classic of its time, which was nice to hear. We did interviews in magazines and things like that. But radio, there used to be a big rock radio scene in Liverpool, and we used to appear on there quite a bit. But other than that, not really. No, it was just hard graft and digging, really.
Yeah. What about recordings? You had was it two singles or two demos? Was it in the first iteration of the band?
Yeah, we did. We recorded a demo at Amazon Studios in, I think it was early 1981, which was the original 4-piece band. And then later in the year, we expanded to a 5-piece with a vocalist, a specialist vocalist. So we went and recorded. And the studio promised that they had kept the tapes. So all we wanted to do was go back to the studio, put the new vocalist on, and re-release it. When we contacted them, when we contacted the studio, they inadvertently wiped all the tapes. But what that meant is we went to go back into the studio free of charge.
Okay, that's nice.
And record the demos again with the new vocalist. And the engineer on both of those demos was Gil Norton, the guy who went on to work with the Foo Fighters.
Okay, all right, interesting.
He was just starting his career out then as an engineer.
Right. And what was it?
Go on, sorry.
What was it like the recording equipment back in them days?
It was a lot. For me, it was a lot simpler.
Yeah.
Because basically we recorded the tracks almost live in 2 or 3 takes, and then the guys put additional guitars over it, or we did a harmony vocal or whatever it was. But it was almost done in 1 take, if you like.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot more complicated. I prefer the analog way, where it's all digital now. But for me personally, I was a fan of the analog. You know, the cut, the reels and the cutting the tape and joining the tape together and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about how things have changed. We'll get onto that later on. We'll talk about the changes. Yeah. But you wasn't around for that long, was you? Like, you did the 2 demos. You had a few gigs and tours. But sort of 79 was it you started and finished up in 82?
We started at the very end of 1980, and our last gig was in December of 82. Yeah, and we split up just because musical differences, frustrations with the industry, that kind of thing. Everybody was growing up. Everybody wanted to progress in life, buy a house, get married, that kind of thing. Women were starting to come on the scene and that kind of thing. And unfortunately, with the income that the band was generating, that was never going to happen, or very unlikely to happen. So it was just one of those things that guys went and got. It was just a conscious lifestyle decision, really. Which was a shame, but it had to be. It had to be.
So song-wise, and like making the music, what was the who did everything in the band? Who did main songwriting? Was there a main songwriter, or did you thrash your ideas together in the studio, or did someone come up with all the riffs and then everyone just followed?
Back in the day, in the 80s, Nick and Steve were the predominant songwriters. Thrash it out as a band, and we might change it a little bit, or we might develop, but they were the more mature, a bit worldly wiser, I suppose. It became more of a collaborative effort. And now, when we're writing, it's a lot like we're writing stuff and recording stuff for the new album now. It's a complete team effort. Somebody will bring an idea to the table, and we'll thrash it out between ourselves.
Right. Break it up again. Bloody internet's messing us up today. You still there, mate? I thought maybe I should take him out and put it back in again. No, I was not going to. I don't think that's going to improve the internet. Let's take this move for a bit. Put him back in the stream. See if he comes back. No, he's not even coming back now. So that's it. I'm talking to Troyen. If anyone's watching this live, I'm talking to Troyen. Don't seem to have the greatest of internet access at the moment. It's been running laggy and slow for a fair bit. But I'm not sure. I think it's Jeff's internet because I'm still here. But yeah, if you want to check out the band, hopefully Jeff will come back and carry on this conversation. But the links are down below for all the. Yeah, it is Modi. Yeah, we're having troubles. Having troubles with his internet. Let's remove him again and try adding him back to the stream again. See if no, it's not doing it. I think his net may be down. Maybe I'll give it a couple of minutes and then I'll have to. Oh yeah, he's come out now. Completely come out. So it's just me. Check out check out Troyen. The links are down below. They're a cool new wave of British heavy metal band, rock band. Originally around from 80 to 82. They're a long blinking hiatus, and then they came back in 2015. Right, Jeff's back. Let's just try this again. Are you with us, Jeff? Are you with us?
I'm with you. Is that better?
Yeah, it seems a bit better.
Excellent.
Do you want to go over that? Yeah, so you started off with two of the guys did most of the songwriting, but now you've reformed. It's like a much more collaborative. Now that everyone's a little bit more. Yeah. So let's get on to that then. So 82, finished at the end of 82 for various reasons, getting on with life, and then a massive hiatus, possibly one of the longest hiatuses in history. You came, That's pretty long.
Yeah.
What happened in the interim? Did you have other bands, and was it like
personally? Nick played in a band. Dave was playing in bands, in covers bands and blues bands. Steve did a little bit, but not so much. Basically, I just walked away from the industry altogether. I just kind of gave up and walked away.
Yeah.
And then and I met an old friend in the pub in about the end of 2007, who I hadn't seen for 30 odd years. And he said, "Was I still playing?" I said, "No, I haven't played for years, but I still have the urge and the itch." He said, "Funny you should mention that. There's a mate of mine lives near you who's looking for a drummer for a band." That was on a Thursday evening. By Sunday, I bought a kit again because it was just the kind of the inspiration I needed. So we formed a covers band, playing the pubs, etc. Playing the stuff that we grew up with: Judas Priest, Def Leppard, Zeppelin, Sabbath, that kind of stuff. So that was 2008. So we did that for a few years. In fact, we're still doing it now on and off. And then I got a Facebook message at about May 2014. Was I the Jeff Baddley from Troyen? And I said, yeah. Why? Who's this? And it was the guys who ran the Brofest Festival in Newcastle.
Oh yeah.
And they'd had requests for them to try and get us on the bill.
Right.
Which was very flattering, extremely flattering.
Yeah.
So I got I was playing with Steve in the covers band. That wasn't a problem, and I still knew where Dave was. But Nick had kind of gone off grid. He'd had health issues, and he'd kind of gone off grid, and he took a little bit of tracking down. But eventually, we met. We arranged to meet in a pub in Warrington. We hadn't seen each other as a band for 34 years.
Yeah.
Decided that yes, we would do the festival.
Yeah.
We got together a couple of weeks later in the rehearsal room, and to be honest, it was like we'd never been away. It was frightening. It was absolutely frightening, and it was great. And we all got the buzz for it and the vibe for it.
Yeah.
And once the Brofest guys had announced that we were playing, other festivals and other venues then started to contact us to see if we wanted to do some more. So where initially we started just doing a one-off gig, we thought there might be some more mileage in it. So we then decided to record some stuff to kind of back that up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dave decided then that due to life commitments, work, etc., he couldn't commit to more than one gig. He was okay doing the one gig, but he couldn't do any more.
Yeah.
So we decided to step down at that point. So Dave didn't actually play with us when we reformed live, and we got a new guy in, Carl Altdorfer, who was actually playing in the covers band with Steve and I, who played with people like Chris Rea and people like that in the past. You know, extremely good bass player. And then so Carl became the second bass player in Troyen, and Carl was with us for about just over 12 months. But in that period, we started to get a lot more requests to play gigs. We started to get requests to go and play back in Europe again. So it was a thing that was taking off. It was taking off way beyond where we thought it was going to go.
Because there was like a massive resurgence suddenly in the old new wave British heavy metal band, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's an awful lot of bands now who we are playing with and seeing on the circuit and contacting and talking with who were around in the 80s. There seems to be a big. I think it's people like it's like a midlife crisis thing. You know, we've got to the point where we're still there. We still want it, and as long as there's people who want to hear us, then we're going to carry on doing it.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. How was Brofest when you came to play it? And how we must have.
It was phenomenal. It was we did a little warm up gig beforehand, but it was the first time we've been on stage in 34 years. It was a big crowd. It was a big crowd, and the scariest thing was there was people on the front row of the audience who weren't born who were singing along the tracks word for word, and that was just mind blowing. That was just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? It's strange. I think like I sort of saw it from like young people who are like getting into thrash because thrash had a revival, and then new wave British heavy metal started a revival. So people who were into thrash was sort of it's like they were going back and discovering the roots kind of thing, the roots of the music that they were listening to, and getting into it.
And it's great when we're playing gigs, be it in the UK or in Europe. It's not just people our age. There's the young people in the audiences as well. There's young people who are buying our stuff. There's young people who are getting into not just us, but the other bands who were around at the time. It's fantastic. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So what took on from there? You did some recordings to sort of get to tie in with the festival, but then you decided, because originally you was going to do the one. Did you say let's just carry on going until we've had enough? Like,
I mean. We decided we did an album called "Finish What You Started," which is up here somewhere, which is basically the four tracks from the original demo, plus 2 tracks we used to play back in the day, plus 2 brand new tracks that we'd written at the time, and that was received ridiculously well and sold ridiculously well. So we then decided that we looked at the market. We looked at because the business had changed. Everything is digital now, and people like streaming stuff and downloading stuff. We weren't sure whether there was actually a market for a physical CD or whatever. But we did some research and we talked to other bands and we talked to people, and yes, there was. People of our generation, our genre, like to have a physical copy rather than a download. So we decided to do an EP rather than an album. So we did an EP, it's called Storm Child, which came out in 2017, which had 5 tracks on it, I think, from memory. And then 2 years later, 2019, when we had a lineup change, we did another EP, and then we made the conscious decision that we're going to make a brand new album with all brand new stuff, no re-recordings of old material, all brand new material, which hopefully which we're working on right now, and hopefully will be out in the late spring.
All right. But everything's gone tits up at the moment now, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're behind. I mean, we've got a very understanding label who obviously are aware of the global issues, and there's other bands on who are with them who are suffering the same thing. So we've got a deadline now of the end of February, and we should be able to meet that. That shouldn't be a problem. We've got 6 tracks pretty much recorded or in the process of recording. 3 or 4 more other tracks that we were working on in rehearsal before lockdown. So once lockdown's lifted again, hopefully in the beginning of December, we should be able to get those recorded. So we should be able to get where we need to be.
Yeah. And when you sort of come back and started doing gigs again and recording and so forth, what did you notice that had changed that in that period? Was it like a whole new different world of equipment and recording stuff?
Yeah, equipment had changed because in the old days we used to have a massive Marshall stacks and amps and kind of, you know, that filled a van. These days, the guys now, both guitarists and the bass player now use a pedal board.
Right.
That's it. My drum kit is still as big as it always was because that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do. But recording wise, it's all digital. Streaming wise, people now want stuff on Spotify, or they want it on Amazon, or they want it on Apple Music, or whatever it may be. So we've gone down that road as well.
Yeah,
and we have stuff on all the relevant platforms. But the problem is when you're getting 0.18p per stream or download.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a check off our platform for about 25 quid,
right.
which is an awful lot of 0.18.
Yeah.
It's never going to pay the bills. It's never going to pay the bills. But it's more competitive now because of Facebook and because of YouTube and because of things like that. If you're not producing something on a regular basis, and if you're not constantly in people's faces and streams, people forget who you are.
I mean, maybe you should be a bit more active on your YouTube, like do a few stream yards, get chatting to a few people.
Yeah, we should. We definitely should.
Yeah. What about when it comes to recording? Is it always old school? Always go to a studio for practice? Because some bands now they write it in their own houses and email each other the bits that they've done and say, yeah, learn that or add to that, and then you record it in different places. A lot of people don't even go into the studio to record anymore. They do it in their own gaffs.
We rehearse at a local studio to here. It's about 5 miles from here. We rehearse there, and we've always recorded there since we reformed. But because of the pandemic, because of the issues we're dealing with now, obviously I can't record my drums at home because I just haven't got the facilities.
Yeah.
But what I've done before lockdown, I did the drum tracks for the 5 or 6 tracks that are ready to go, and the lads are working on their bits at home. So it's kind of a bit of both. We're using the traditional studio and the working from home as well.
Tell us about your label. Who's the label? How did that come about?
We're with Classic Metal Records for CDs, and we're with High Roller Records in Germany for vinyl.
You are getting vinyl. That's cool.
Vinyl should be. We're having the right. I'll start at the beginning. Classic Metal. The 2 guys who run Classic Metal saw us at a gig in Bolton, which is about 10 miles from here, with Quartz. That we played about 3 years ago, and they loved what we did, and it was great to meet them. It was fantastic. And then about 6 or 7 months after they'd seen us, they contacted us and said, would it be possible for them to put out an anthology of ours, of our material, which we were flattered and delighted with. And that anthology came out 12 months ago, and has sold out, which is brilliant. And they want us to record that. Then they said the anthology's done really, really well. Will you any chance of recording a brand new album, which we were talking about anyway? So we said yeah. not a problem with that. So Classic Metal will be putting up the new album, which has a working title of Falling Off the Edge of Forever. It's a working title. It may or may not end up that way. Probably will, but may not. That's going to come out in the spring. Then they were contacted by High Roller Records, asking could they put out the anthology on vinyl, which was fantastic. So that's coming out on 2 separate vinyl albums. One called Syrian Lady, which is out next Friday on High Roller Records, and that covers the stuff that we did, the demos and the stuff that we did back in the 80s. And then part 2, Nightmare, comes out the following week, and that's got the stuff that we've recorded since, which and hopefully they will pick up the new album on vinyl as well.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of people still dig the old vinyl, but obviously so many different formats come along since then, like, you know, CDs, and everyone's doing digital now. But there's something about the old vinyl that's so much more satisfying.
Particularly people who are into rock and metal seem to want physical CDs or physical vinyl. That seems to be the thing that they want, and as long as we can provide that, then we'll carry on doing it.
Yeah, it's always good. It's just much more impressive. It's just like have a record in your hands with the full art and everything. Yeah. So the new album that you're in the process of recording. What songs have you got for that so far?
We've got 6 which are titled and are ready to go. And it's probably, well, I'm not probably, it is definitely going to be the heaviest album we've done to date, without a doubt. When Steve and Mark, Steve joined the band about 2 years ago, just short of 2 years ago. Mark joined the band last year, but end of last year, end of 2019. And though their influences, the influence that they brought has given us a harder sound, a more aggressive sound, if you like, and the stuff that we've been recording is really, really a lot heavier. Not exactly, I wouldn't say it was doomy, but it's a lot harder and heavier, which is great.
So is it 2 original members you've got still, and 2 new members?
There's me and Steve Maguire, who's the guitarist vocalist, who are original members, and Steve Haslam and Mark Nortley have come in since. We've had several line changes in the last 5 years because of work commitments, health issues, whatever else it may be, but we've still got 2 original members. Yeah,
that's cool. And what about lyrically? Who does the lyrics? Who makes the?
In the new way, in the new format we've got, I tend to do probably 70% of the lyrics.
Cool.
Steve will do the other 30%. But again, as I said earlier, it's what we bring to the table. I'll come up with a lyric, bring it to the table, and Steve has got to sing it. Who's got to deliver it. We'll tweak it and change it, or maybe add a bit, or take a bit out, or whatever it may be. So I probably do 70% of them, and Steve does the other 30%.
It's all collaborative then.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
So what thing is it?
Go on, sorry.
No, you carry on.
And the lyrics can be based on world events, personal memories, personal desires. There's no one thing that it's kind of based on. I can be sat watching a film on the telly, and suddenly something will come into bed, or I can be driving, or it depends. It's weird where things just flash into your head from.
Yeah.
I mean, Storm Child was about the birth of my granddaughter, because she was born in a storm.
Cool.
There's some weird influences. It all depends.
Yeah, I was going to mention Storm Child. I think that's my favourite song of yours, because I love the way the vocals flow through the song, and it's just a really cool, just everything on that album. I remember playing it a few times on my podcast, and like I played it, and I was like, I'm going to go back and listen to that one again, kind of thing, because it's like the way it flows.
Well, that was a concept that I had in my head, and unfortunately, I don't play guitar, so I've got to try and transfer what's in my head to the lads. So I went to Steve and said, I want you to do a track that goes, and he went, and eventually that's what we came up with, and it works. It's great,
That sounds like an interesting conversation where you just hum the riffs that you want him to create.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
If it works, don't knock it if it works.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Okay. Have you got a favourite lyric, a favourite line that you've written and think, oh, that's the best line? gives you a little chill when you hear it.
Yeah, I have. I wrote the lyrics to Syrian Lady, which I like and I'm proud of, and that whole lyric I'm thrilled with. And there's a lot, but there's one specific line in Storm Child which says, "Your love excites me like fear to the bold," and that kind of that for me gives that kind of uncertainty. That kind because when somebody's got adrenaline and they're scared of something but they really like it, that kind of that when Steve's singing that and I'm drumming behind it, I'm loving that when it goes up front. I'm loving that one.
Yeah. Now I know what the lyric is. Now, next time I listen to it, I know what he's singing.
Yeah.
Cool. So you've been held up with the blinking corona, of course.
Yeah.
What has it fucked up for you? Because I know you were telling me before gigs have been missed and
we've
delayed.
Yeah, we've lost. We played. We played in Belgium at the Blast from the Past festival in December last year, which was fantastic, and then we played Giants of Rock in Maidenhead in January, and since then we've done nothing because lockdown came in February or March or whatever it came, and it kind of anything that we had booked from then on just went out of the window. Recording, we obviously with the original lockdown, we didn't see each other for 3 months. We contacted each other by telephone or whatever, but creatively we come to a standstill, if you like. When lockdown was lifted, we started rehearsing again, and that's where we got the hard yards done for the new album. But then lockdown's come again, and that's kind of going to slow us up a little bit. Not wholly, but it's going to slow us up a little bit. But unfortunately, well, next year is 2021 is our 40th anniversary year because we were created in 1981, and we had lots of plans for big celebrations, gigs in Europe for next year, etc. Which unfortunately, most of those are going to be put by the wayside and carried over to 2022, which is an awful long way off. Yeah. Because when the festivals were cancelled in 2020, the bills from 2020 were carried over to 2021. And when we were supposed to be on the bill in 2021, we're more likely now to be in 2022. So it's just frustrating. But everybody's the same. Everybody's in the same boat. And as we discussed before, unfortunately, we don't know what venues are going to be left. No, because we've got gigs booked in South Wales, in Devon, in the Midlands, in the Northwest next year, but we don't know at this point whether those venues are still going to be there.
There have been a few like socially distanced gigs and stuff like that, and like people have done gigs online. Have you considered doing anything like that?
We've talked about it. To be honest, it's something we have been talked about, and particularly the guy who runs the studio that we rehearse at has been kind of pushing us and kind of suggesting that we do that. The trouble is trying to get everybody in the same place at the same time is a bit like herding cats at the minute. It's kind of difficult. But we've got a gig booked for the 6th of March next year, which is as close as we can get to the date that we did our first gig in 1981. Cool. And we're doing that as a mini festival, and we've invited 4 or 5 other bands who we know very well, who we've played with over the last 4 or 5 years to do a mini festival. If for some reason we cannot physically do that, then we might end up doing an online virtual gig instead for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. We still don't know when it's going to be all over this crap. No. It might go through 2021 for all we know.
Yeah. We just don't know.
So, have you actually? Just as a question, have you played with any band since you reformed that you originally played with back in the original incarnation of the band? Has that ever happened? Is there any other bands that like come back after 30 odd years like you did? And
not yet, although we are booked to play with Rab Stallion,
right?
Who were a band from Bradford who we played with in sometime in 1982. We're down to play some gigs at the back end of 2021 with them.
Right.
So, but other than that, no, we haven't played with any bands who we've played with in the past. No, not yet. Anyway.
Well, are there any bands from back in the day that you thought were really good that never got the appreciation you thought they should have done?
Oh, probably too many to mention. To be honest, there was so many bands. Like I said, going back in the day when we would come back and meet in the motorway services, there would be bands who were there were some fantastic bands back then, some fantastic bands, some fantastic musicians. But it's like anything. It's like football. There is only a very small percentage of people who actually make it. There's 1,000 people want to be a footballer. There's 1,000 people want to be a musician in a band. There's only a very small percentage that actually get there.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Iron Maiden, isn't it? From the new wave of British heavy metal, more or less. Saxon, was it? Yeah. It's crazy.
We've played with Oliver Dawson Saxon, which is kind of an offshoot of them. We played with them in France. 2017, which is good. And there's some nice guys. There are still some very nice guys around on the circuit. Very humble guys.
Yeah.
Very humble guys.
Just out there having fun, making the music.
Yeah.
What about you? Like personal experiences on the road, like from back in the day compared to now. Did you used to get drunk back in the day, and now you still getting crazy, or you're a bit more calm with everything now?
We're very much old and mature and boring now, really. I mean, yes, we did. There are times when we would drink a lot, particularly when we're on tour in Europe with Nightwing. We would drink a lot.
Yeah.
These days, it's a cup of tea and a can of Fanta. It's a kind of thing.
Yeah. It's for the best, though, probably. What about changes in the scene, changes in the technology? Because you all embrace the social media, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
as I said before, you have to have a social media presence now. Otherwise, people don't know who you are. Back in the day, it was New Musical Express, Sounds, and stuff like that. Kerrang! If you were lucky enough to get in Kerrang! These days, everything's digital. You have to have we try and keep a social media presence on a weekly basis. Post stuff about what's going on, like doing this, that kind of thing. Keep people interested. If we played on the radio, we'll post that, because I've said to you before, I am a firm believer of, if somebody has got an interest in us and will play us and give us airtime, then I will do everything I possibly can to promote the shows and the radio stations, etc., the podcasts or whatever that we're being asked to be on.
Yeah, I say, because I've heard you on my podcast a few times, and you're always sharing it all over. Absolutely. I've always been appreciative of that, and definitely it's good to, like, when a band puts that sort of effort in to put stuff to support people and supporting them kind of thing, it makes you want to support them more, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's something I firmly believe in, because without that exposure, and people don't know who we are, so we're grateful for any exposure that people are willing to give us.
Yeah. I'm just reading something. I got a comment here. Something about being a field area manager. So I take it that being a field area manager is forever behind him. Now it's a manager of a band. Does that make any sense to you, that comment?
Yeah. For 34 years, I was a senior manager in a finance company. So I went from being a rock star, if you like, to being a boring manager in a finance company for 34 years. And now I'm semi-retired. I was semi-retired, but I've always been the guy who's managed things. I've always been the guy who's organised. I've got my skill set. I've always said I can organise and hit things hard.
Yeah.
Anything other than that. So when it comes to like music production, stuff like that, that's not my skill set. That's not. But there are guys in the band who can do that. So I'll let them get on with that, and I'll do what I'm good at, and they do what they're good at. So it works. But yeah, for 34 years, I was a finance manager. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the days of phoning people around though to organise gigs. So do you still phone to organise gigs? Is it all email now?
Well, it's all these days. It's email or it's a Facebook Messenger or stuff like that. But we've now got a management.
All right.
So they're booking the gigs for us now. So hopefully that. So I'm taking a little kind of a step back, if you like.
I was just thinking, when you said that your skills are managing things and hitting things hard, I wondered, it made me think of the guy with the cricket bat in the did you ever have to hit anything hard, like for not paying up and that kind of thing? And do you have any kind of?
From time to time, it may have happened from time to time. Yeah, it may have happened.
All right, let's talk about your drum kit, because they don't often talk about equipment actually on here. Like you say, you like a big drum kit. You got a particular drum cymbal setup that you favour? Got any? Like endorsements? You got any endorsements on your drum kit or anything like that?
Unfortunately not, but I'm open to offers. Back in the day, I had a Premier kit that was built for me by the guys at the Premier factory in Leicester, which was really good. But I sold it when I finished playing with Troyen and I was moving on in life. I sold that to buy a car, which was, what you did back in the day. But over the years, I've had Premier kits and Ludwig kits and Pearl kits and Tamer kits, etc. I'm now playing a Remo kit, which is very unfashionable. There's a lot of people in the industry who don't like what Remo kits are, because they are basically an MDF rather than being a solid wood. It's more like an MDF thing.
Okay.
But when I bought it, I absolutely loved the sound of it. I absolutely fell in love with the sound of it. So now I am exclusively a Remo guy.
Okay. Well,
apart from the snare drum, which is one of these.
I couldn't make it out. Let me put you on large so I can see what you say. What it says. 101.
Again, I had the snare drum built for me, which is phenomenal. It's a fantastic sounding snare drum. Absolutely fantastic sounding snare drum.
What about cymbals?
And I use Sabian Pro cymbals, which again are if I find something I like, I stick with it.
Yeah.
Sabian Pro cymbals are old. They're not made anymore. So any I need, I buy off eBay or I buy from wherever. But it's something I like, and I like the sound of them, so I stick with it. And I'm that kind of guy, once I find something I like, I'll stick with it. But I grew up in listening to bands in the late 70s, 80s, Neil Peart with his big drum kit, people like that, and that's what I played because that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
I know, again, not really fashionable. It's fashionable now to have one kick drum, one tom up the top, and one tom on the bottom. I've got 8. It's what I like, and it really pisses off. It really pisses off the sound engineers, but that's
Stop complaining and mic them up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, when I turn up at gigs and just keep bringing stuff in, and the faces go.
How many drummers have you got?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
that's cool. All right. So, any other gig memories you want to tell us about, or your years of gigging? I mean, how was you can't be doing as many gigs in the last couple of years since you've been around than you did back in the day.
No,
is that because there's less places to play, or you don't want to get out as much as that?
All of the above. We've all got family commitments now. We're all married. We've all got children, grandchildren, jobs, things that kind of influence when we're available, when we can be available, when we can't. There isn't as many venues around, which kind of makes it more difficult. But I think what we've done around 70 gigs, I think 70 or 80 gigs in the last 5 years. So that's probably about right for us. We've been to Europe 4 times. We've played in Belgium. We played in Holland. We played in France. We played in Belgium twice, which is
pretty
probably
good.
I mean, if we go to Belgium, that's a long weekend. It's kind of you drive down, you stay in Kent, you go over, you might play 1 gig in Belgium, then you go and do a gig in France, then you come home, and then you're back in work on Monday. That's the responsibilities we've got now.
I always sort of heard that they treat you a lot better when you go to Europe. You get a rider and looked after.
Absolutely. I mean, no disrespect to the venues in the UK, but if you get a bottle of water, you're doing well. You go to Europe. I mean, we've played in Holland, we've played in France, we've played in Belgium. You get hotel rooms at their expense. You get food at their expense. You get refreshments at their expense. You're treated like gods, really. I suppose it's embarrassing, really. When it must be embarrassing for bands from the continent who come here. Because it must be a culture shock, because it's certainly a culture shock for us going the other way.
Yeah. I wonder how that came to be, like that they sort of, treat everyone better over there. Because I remember I've put gigs on, and when I had bands,
I mean,
yeah,
we've played at festivals where basically someone is appointed to look after us. As soon as you turn up, you get basically your own PA, who then makes sure that you've got everything you need, you're at the right place at the right time. Here, it's kind of, the stage is over there, mate. It's kind of.
They look at you as if you're intruding sometimes. It's like the sound man or whatever.
Having said that, we played Hard Rock Hell, New Wave of British Heavy Metal Christmas Festival in 2017 in Sheffield O2, and that was okay. We got well looked after there.
Yeah. What's your favourite? Have you got like a favourite gig memory, like where everything was perfect, you had a good crowd, and
there was a lot back in the day. There was an awful lot back in the day, but I think the one that sticks in my mind, when we played Blast from the Past in Belgium last December, that was phenomenal. That was really good. But I think the one that really clinches it was the Brofest gig, because that was the comeback gig. That was a big crowd. And like I say, there was people there who weren't even born when we were playing, who were singing along to what we did. And that was such a...
Must have been a bit of a mind blow.
Oh, it was. I mean, I was buzzing for days after that. It was. I can't express the feeling of sitting behind the drum kit, playing along, and looking at the guys in the front, pressed against the barrier with their arms up.
Yeah.
All singing stuff that we'd written.
Yeah.
30 odd years ago. It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my lasting memory at the moment, I mean, I say at the moment because there could be something better tomorrow or whenever, is Brofest. Definitely Brofest.
That must be quite weird because, like, I was in how many of because we only had 2 demos and it was just like re-recording of the first demo. How many of those people actually had the original demos? And it must have been uploaded to a website and everyone's downloaded it digitally or something like
that. We physically sold about 500 or 600, I think, which because there was no online sales and you sold stuff at gigs. That was it. And we probably sold. I think we did 2 separate runs of 300 a piece, I think, from memory. I'm not quite sure.
One
of the tracks, while we were in the hiatus, there were kind of online things going on that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
And there was a guy in Sweden who'd set up like a Troyen appreciation website, which was weird. Very nice, but weird.
Yeah.
There's a track I posted on our Facebook page yesterday or the day before. Dreams Never Lie. It's got 15,000 plays, which isn't a lot in the Ed Sheeran in that kind of but But for a band like us, who very few people remember, that's quite a lot of plays,
Yeah, it's pretty decent, and there's still more to come. Hopefully, if you've got your new album coming,
absolutely.
Because was it High Roller? Was it the record label? They seem to do quite a lot of the old stuff, didn't they? A lot of the So so we're coming up to the 55 minutes almost. What's coming up in the future? Obviously, we can't know with the bloody well. But when do you think we're going to get? When do you think we're going to get the album now? And any plans?
The album will be out on CD, I would say, at the latest in end of March, beginning of April. I'm hoping it will be out on vinyl probably in the summer, maybe August, September. And I'm hoping then that we can then get back on the road and start playing in front of real people again, which would be nice. So we've got, like I say, we've got 3 or 4 festivals. We're playing Rockforce Festival at the Waterloo Club in Blackpool in May. We're playing the Love Rocks Festival in Bournemouth in July, and we're headlining the Friday night from Mayfest in October, 1st of October. And we've got probably a dozen other gigs around the country between now and then hopefully we can get back into Europe to fulfill our obligations there. So we'll continue playing as long as people want us to play. And that's basically what. As long as we're enjoying it, the phrase is when you're gambling, when the fun stops, stop. Well,
Yeah.
we're still having fun at the minute, so we're going to keep doing it. So
yeah, good stuff. What about is there problems as well with Brexit getting into Europe now, isn't it? I think you mentioned it earlier on. Are you aware of what you've got to do now?
Well, it all depends whether we end up with a no-deal Brexit or we end up with some kind of weird deal Brexit. Depends on what it is. But right now, or up until now, we could just go and play. There was no issues or anything like that. But moving forward after Brexit, we've then got to declare all our merchandise and pay a percentage of what we might sell up front. We've got to have insurance on stuff. The list is mind-blowing.
Yeah,
it's going to make it really, really difficult. It's going to make it really difficult, but it's nothing we can't overcome as long as we can get our heads around it. Because that's the way we used to work in the 80s.
Yeah,
that's the way we worked then. So it's not new, but it's just inconvenient.
Yeah, different as well. What about any idea about bands coming into England? Let's go. It's just as hard, isn't it, or even harder?
Yes, yeah, it'll be the same for them. So I mean, when it's a major tour, that won't be an issue because the label will foot the insurance bill or will foot the costs. When it's smaller bands at our level, who I know there are a lot of bands in Europe who come over here, it's going to be as difficult for them. Yeah, it's going to be as difficult for them.
Yeah,
unless there can be some agreement. But unfortunately, when the politicians want to talk, bands and their riders are not top of the list. It's probably
fishing rights off the blinking whatever more important. Yeah. Well, one thing I was going to ask for a personal level: have you played London yet? Because I don't think I've ever seen. I mean,
we played the Mayfest Festival and we played the Borderline Club. In 2016, unfortunately, the Borderline's one of the places that we've lost now. That's gone forever.
Yeah.
We're playing at Gravesend, which I know isn't London, but it's not a million miles away. We're playing there next year, how we should be.
Right.
But again, playing in central London at the moment is an issue because of the congestion charge. Because bringing vans in and trucks into London to load and unload and come out again, that kind of impacts on the situation. But it's nothing we can't overcome. I'm sure we will be back in London in 2022, if not before.
Yeah, because hopefully I'll get to come and watch you play someday. Anyway,
that will be fantastic.
If it's 22, we'll have another chat. I'll bring my camera. We'll have another chat.
Absolutely.
we do it on a vid camera rather than on the internet with the lag and the blinking dodgy internet and all that we had earlier on. All right, I'll let you finish up there. Let you say goodbyes. Give a message to the people who watch this now, watching this later on, and then we'll say goodbyes.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody who supported us over the last 40 years, particularly in the years since we've come back in 2015. It's been fantastic to see you at live gigs, and hopefully we can see you at live gigs again in the future. And as long as you want us to play, we'll continue to play.
Okay, cheers, mate. Thanks for coming on. It was cool having a chat with you. And I'll probably play you on the podcast again tomorrow, actually, because I always like to try and do another play for a band that I just interviewed. So I'll probably put a track on. Well, any particular track you want me to play on the show tomorrow?
Let's go with Stormchild, eh?
Stormchild, yeah. That's another thing. Like I said, if anyone wants to check out any of your songs, would you recommend Stormchild as the one for them to check out first?
Oh, I mean, the Stormchild and Syrian Lady from back in the day. There is Nightmare. There's Lady Evil from the last EP as well, which are really good tracks. They're all good. Right. I think they're all good. So you make your own minds up.
Right, cool. All right, thanks for coming on. And if any other bands looking to have a chat and talk about their band at any point, get in touch with me on Facebook or whatever. All the links for Troyen are down below. Go to the blog. All the links are there. You can go and buy their stuff. Follow them on Facebook. Follow them on Twitter. Follow them on YouTube. And hopefully, when the new album's out, you'll come back and have another chat with us.
Of course, I'll be delighted, and hopefully, I can get some more members of the band as well.
That'd be cool.
We're not socially distant. Yeah.
Will you be getting like your own sort of like a supply of vinyls and that? Yeah, put me down for vinyl. I'll buy a vinyl off you when they come out.
Fantastic. I've been assured by High Roller Records that once they've been released, which is this week and next week, we will get some hard copy supplies here. So as soon as we've got some, we'll put it on the Facebook page.
Awesome. All right. Talk to you soon, mate.
Cheers, Graham. Appreciate it, mate. Thank